Okay, I want to try this. I'm going to split you into 4 groups. I'm going to invite you to follow me. Okay, so we're going to have this group. I'm going to freak the cameras out now because I'm going to cut off the red spot. This group here. Okay, so I want you to go. Can you do that? Copy me? 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3. Foot's quite important. 2, 3. Brilliant. So this group here. Brilliant. This group here. You're going to use your thighs. Okay, you ready? Oi! 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 Brilliant. Watch me. 1, 2. Can we try again? 1, 2, 1. Oi! Oi! You stop. You keep going. You stop. Brilliant. We're coming again. One, 2, 3, 4. Again. Boom. Da, 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 da. Big finish now. 2, 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Give yourselves a clap. Way. Okay. Woo. How do you feel now? We'll do this we'll do this through a show of hands. If you feel exactly the same as you did when you came into the collection this morning, you'll go like that. If you feel on top of the world, you could take anyone on. We're up here. And if the only thing that's stopping you from getting out of this building now are your neighbours and you don't want to disturb them, you're down here. So 1, 2, 3, how do you feel? Awesome, awesome. So it's fair to say we all actually felt something. And even those who maybe chose not to join in, which is okay because they invited you, you had a choice. Maybe we're sitting watching everyone else, they'll feel something, probably smugness or something like that. Another question, who here will consider themselves as a musician? Yeah, okay. So if we agree that our hands are instruments, our voices are instruments, we were just creating a piece of music there as a whole group, as an ensemble. I was conducting you as a conductor. You stop, start, dynamics, that worked. You technically were all musicians. But for me, the important thing is that you felt something. Now then, what if we could save money for the NHS? What if we could reduce street crime or any crime? What if we could slow down the process of dementia, increase and speed up the process of healing? What if we could extend life and raise standards in schools? Well, we can, and we are. And we're doing that through music. More precisely, we're doing that through community music. Now, I say the notion of community music and not music education, not music therapy, and not learning an instrument, because it's more than that. It's more than learning a technique and a skill. It's more than translating a sheet of paper or making a sound out of an instrument. So what is community music? Music with people. That works, doesn't it? And when you think of, or if you think of the communities and the number of communities we could be working with, and think of the number of different genres, it's not surprising that it's actually quite hard to make a single definition of it. In fact, the wonderful Catherine Dean, who for many years was the director of SoundSense, the UK's leading community music organisation, once said it's not about creating or having a definition, it's more about a three-part test. 1, community music is about working with a professional musician at any music genre. Now I'd say community music is about working with a deluxe professional musician. And I say deluxe because it's not just a musician who can play and perform, but it's a musician who can listen, who can collaborate, who can reflect, who's flexible, and will collaborate with a group of people to make a participatory piece of music. 2, community music is about inclusion. And it is the practice of diversity, where there shouldn't be any barriers, whether that's physical, emotional, or economical, and everybody can take part. And 3, community music can happen in any community, and it must reflect the context of which it's happening, the context of the place. You've just created a piece of community music. So for me, community music is an absolute brilliant tool. And it's more than just music making. It's concerned with the other elements of life, be that social, emotional, be that psychological, that need, that geographical. It's the principle of facilitating a group in collaboration, agreeing a process, feeling ownership, and collaborating together. It's an inclusive practice. Or as Professor Lee Higgins from the International Centre for Community Music at St John's University, York would say, it's an act of hospitality. And for me, a facilitator within the sector, it's really important for me to value and to acknowledge why a person wants to take part and what they want to get out of it. Why now, why here, and why with these people? And if I can get those 3 elements right, then we can embark on an inclusive, creative journey which values everybody's contributions. It creates equality, empowerment, and added to the adage that I really believe that anything is possible and everything is achievable, it's a win-win situation where every party stands to gain. So let me give you some examples of this in practice. A few years ago, a Grantham local paper had a headline which basically said youth crime had been reduced by 80%. It went on to describe a project that Soundlinks had been working on over the summer with young people. Now, fair enough, if we have a project and young people come to it, they're not there to be causing disruption. That's fine, and it'd be fine if it was only for one day. But the project went on all summer, and young people voluntarily kept coming back. They were engaged in music, and indeed, the crime rate went down in the town. 2, a couple of weeks ago, we ran an adult vocal workshop as part of the British Council World Voice project that's been happening. We ran the workshop in a county council building, Mile Cross. Mile Cross used to be an old maternity hospital. Way back when, after they had the baby, the woman had to convalesce and couldn't have any visitors. And one of the participants vividly remembers being held up at the window to wave at mum and her newborn sibling. That day, a song was created, a wonderful, heartfelt song was created. The actual day was about sharing with our visiting singers from Ethiopia and Jordan who were in the county and working with a UK facilitator about choir repertoire and songs and songwriting. But the UK facilitator embraced the context of which she was working and the memories of the participant to make it a truly memorable experience. 3, a young man in residential care hadn't spoken for 12 months. No, he hadn't. Yes, he had, 12 months. I keep thinking that on 12 years ago, that's a long time not to speak. He hadn't spoken for 12 months. 6 weeks into having his music sessions, he was talking to our facilitator about the actual residential home and the school. And he's often caught singing now and heard singing. It's wonderful, wonderful. Music is just entertainment. It's therapy and we have no money. I was told by a rather senior NHS professional worker. It took us 16 minutes to be discussing the possibilities of an on-call musician. And we talked about it in light of staff retention and increased number of procedures. We were able to do that because Soundlinks has been working in the United Hospitals in Lincolnshire for several years now. And the impact we've had on the wards, certainly for increasing the number of blood tests in paediatrics. Doctors and nurses are happy because young people are playing music. Doctors and nurses are happy because they're not having to drag the patients from under the beds for their blood tests or even prize them out of cars so they're quite scared. Mum, dad and carers are happy because they see that their sons and daughters have got a creative aptitude and actually getting a new hobby. And the patient's happy because they've created a ringtone or they've created a track which you can download later. It's a win-win situation. But music and community music doesn't, in fact, change just through making music. I once got a phone call a number of years ago, an excited member of the community to tell me that the Britten Sinfonia were going to be playing at Caister. And there's nothing wrong in that. I'm a cellist, I'm a conductor, and this type of thing, I like to go and see concerts. What was brilliant for me was for 10 months I'd worked with a music group, fundraising, talking to the orchestra, picking a programme, finding a venue, doing the marketing. And the community had absolutely embraced this project to the point of fact, absolute ownership of the project, and they were ringing me to tell me it. So for me, tick, job done. That was fantastic. And finally, the young woman in care who, having had a baby at 15, feels isolated and stigmatised and won't go to the children's centres, to the mother and toddler classes. But she works with her Bernardo's care worker and using music as a tool, learns to play with baby and builds self-confidence to the point where she goes to the children's centre and she makes new friends and she shares her skill. And we have to thank the Bernardo's care worker for taking the time to use music as a tool to change this young woman's life and to help her to be socially mobile. There's lots and lots of examples of community music. And there's also lots of examples about the power of music itself, what it has on the brain. We know singing makes you brainy. And before we get too exciting, you've got to start young. But it does. It also has health benefits for breathing and everything. But it's interesting when we get to think about the larger agendas of life, the social inclusion, social mobility, personal development, even larger agendas of economics or cost cutting. We don't automatically find ourselves going to this evidence. We need to think outside the box. We mustn't underestimate the power of music, whether that's in our homes, whether it's communities, our schools, or even our workplaces. It is fun, it is entertaining, it is delightful. It's a wonderful job to do. And it's called community music, and it is a tool, and it can be so much more, and it is so much more. And it's available to everybody. You felt that. You created a piece of community music at the beginning of this talk. So if you could find something that made you smile, that made you share with somebody, that helped you to learn, that probably saved you money, why wouldn't you use it? So yes, we can reduce and save money for the NHS. Yes, we can slow down the process of dementia. Yes, we can speed up healing. Community music, the power for change. I'm Nikki-Kate Heyes. Thank you for listening.